was a kid, I used to oftenly play video games. Unfortunately, I didn't have enough money to buy a better computer in that time because I wanted to play the more modern ones. So, to wonder why my computer didn't have the capacity to handle those games, I opened it. And unfortunately, I didn't know anything that what was inside. It was like an alien technology. Those cables everywhere, chips that I don't understand what it's used, the components that have different sizes, measurement, anything. Didn't make sense. But a couple of years later, I built my own computer, which you can see, and it worked. A couple minutes on research, a couple minutes on understand how it works, what I want to, a couple minutes to know what I want it to look like, and it's all here. So you must understand that a computer is not only a machine that only does the things that you work, but it also has its limitations, its capacities. And today I'm going to show you these components that a computer makes a computer. Starting with the main thing, the motherboard. The motherboard is this square thingy that we have all the way in the back of the computer. The motherboard is the one in charge to make that all these components communicate between each other. Take it as a whole city, a lot of roads that it has to be communicating. And the main buildings are going to be these components that I'm going to explain to you in a minute. Next up, we have the CPU, which is the brain of everything. It is the one in charge to make the core mathematical procedures that you do in a computer. Opening, making a document in Word, playing your music on YouTube, anything. All those things are in charge of the CPU. Next up, we have the RAM. These are these little sticks that go here. Take this RAM as a temporary storage where your data goes, running from one place to another. This one is in charge to move your data from one place to another. Depends on your necessities and the occupation of the computer. So you can take it and look at it as a highway. But in this case, the more storage this has, the more roads it has in order to the data can pass through. So if I'm playing a new game that consumes a lot of resources, it's going to occupy all the roads in order to make all the mathematical procedures, which can make it run slow. So in order to solve that, you have to get a higher storage. In this case, I recommend 16 gigabytes is more than enough. If people offer you 32 gigabytes, 64 gigabytes, you're never going to use that much. Even if you're going to use, I don't know, high tech or rendering, AI, anything, you're not going to use that much. So don't worry about that. Well, these are the main components that makes the computer itself. Now I'm going to explain to you other components of the computer that is depends on what you need can make the difference between a house computer to a gaming computer. In this case, we have the GPU. It's this square thingy that we have over here. You can see it is much bigger compared to the CPU. Much bigger. And this is an old one. Modern ones are quite big and heavy. They're like the size of this. You can say that half of this is the whole thing. It's heavy. And the reason of that is because you can take it as like a secondary brain, a second CPU. The difference between the CPU and the GPU is that the CPU, as I said before, it takes core important tasks that makes your computer run. The GPU takes secondary important tasks, and it's like a heavy duty version of the CPU. It's a hard worker. So if you play a modern game, the GPU is going to be the one in charge to give you the graphics that you need. The CPU is going to be the one in charge of running all the processes that make the game work. Same thing with heavy things like 3D rendering, AI, basically those are the main ones that consumes a lot. So if you want to get into more modern things, you have to get the most updated GPU they can get. On your budget, of course. Then we have the storage. The storage is not present in here in front. It's more in the backstage since it's not relevant to this hard. But for this, we have 3 types, and it depends on the time that it took in order to evolve and what it is now. The first one is called the HDD, which is a bigger version, kind of like the size of a sandwich. It was heavy and it can hold like 1 terabyte, which is 1,000 gigabytes. After a couple of years of evolution, it became an SSD, a slimmer version of it. You can see that it's like half the size, same dimensions, just half the size, and much lighter, much more. And it can reach up to 2 terabytes, 2,000 gigabytes, and that is a lot. And now we have modern storage components, which is the size of a USB, tiny. Those are extremely fast, and they have the capacity to take up to 8 terabytes if I'm not wrong. So if you want you want your computer to run fast and all your data to run without interruptions, I recommend you the SSD or the NMV SSD, which is the much more modern one. And for last but not least, we have the PSU. The PSU is the one in charge to feed all your components with electricity, the voltage that is needed. It all depends on which one you choose. For example, for this one, I don't use it more than for homework and office work. So this one is a 650 watts. It doesn't mean that it's going to consume 650 when I use it. That is the limit. If I use it for an hour, we can say it consumes 200 to 300 watts. It doesn't mean that it's going to consume all of it. That is the maximum. So you're using only this part of the power possible. If you put this one, a 650, into a gaming console, those one usually uses more, like 800, 700, and this one is 650. It's gonna shut off because it needs more power. So I recommend you get the one that for your needs. Office one, 650, it's enough. Gaming consoles and everything, 1,000, just so you can keep up and use it for a couple more years with the new stuff that comes up. After that, I can tell you that in conclusion, when I was a kid and I told you that everything was alienish, not understood what was going on, now I can tell for sure what is every component, their uses, and if there's something happening in my computer, I can critical think about what could be the possibility of it.